Welcome back. Let's get some more reaction out of the government's gas strategy. It says gas is going to be a big part of the picture to 2050 and beyond. Joining me is the Chief Executive of the Peak Group that represents gas producers, the Australian Energy Producers Chief Executive, Samantha McCulloch. Samantha, it looks like from your statement you're welcoming this strategy as announced by the Minister today.
We certainly welcome, Kieran, the clear message it sends around the long-term important role of gas in our energy mix to 2050 and beyond. It's very consistent with what we've been saying for some time now in terms of the crucial importance of gas for our economy, for our energy security and for our emissions reductions.
Important as a firming capacity. It's something that is a big part of the picture according to the International Energy Agency as well. Why hasn't there been a stability here, do you think, when it comes to support for gas in recent times?
Well, I think you're right, absolutely. This role for gas going forward that's now reflected in the future gas strategy is because gas plays such a critical role in terms of power generation. It backs up renewables. It's supporting the shift away from coal. We're seeing that in Australia. We're seeing that internationally. But it's also such a crucial component of the energy needed by our manufacturing sector. So 42% of manufacturing energy needs are met by gas today. And if we want to grow our manufacturing capabilities, if we want a future made in Australia, gas will play a really important role in that. And what the future gas strategy today confirms is that that's actually consistent with our net zero goals.
Does this say to investors, to your members as well, get on board and invest in future capacity because you've got the bipartisan support here?
Sends a very important signal for investment, including to the international community, about the long-term role that gas will play in our energy mix. That's important because often we're talking about, billions or tens of billions of dollars of investment in capital-intensive, long-lived assets. The industry's invested $400 billion in the Australian economy to date. We want to secure further investment, and the future gas strategy is really helpful in outlining the long-term role of gas here in Australia, but also in supporting our existing trading partners and new trading partners with their own energy security needs and their decarbonisation pathways.
Yeah, that's certainly a big part of it, isn't it? As an export to North Asia, Australia is one of the big suppliers. I want to ask you, though, about the mitigation question, carbon capture and storage. I spoke to Madeleine King, the Minister, earlier this hour. She says it is working.
Carbon capture and
How
storage.
confident are you that this can be a part of the picture? I'm
absolutely confident that this can be part of the picture because it is part of the picture already. There are 40 projects around the world that are capturing around 10% of Australia's annual emissions equivalent. Some of these projects have been operating for almost 30 years, including in Norway. So we know the technology works. We know we need it.
Is there scope to grow that?
Absolutely. And it is growing. We're seeing huge global momentum around this technology, consistent with net zero goals. So Europe, the US, UK, even in our region, Indonesia, are all getting behind CCS because they see it as being critical to meeting their net zero goals, to reducing emissions. We've had really good progress recently in Australia around CCS. We've got the Gorgon project, which is one of the largest projects in the world. It's stored more than 9 million tonnes of CO2. The Moomba project in South Australia will come online later this year. So we're making really important progress around CCS, and we need to continue to invest in what is a crucial technology for our industrial sector.
Not a surprising reaction, but still a very strong one from the Greens, Greenpeace, Get Up. What do you say to those organisations about their criticism of gas as an investment and energy pathway into the future?
What we need, Kieran, is a pragmatic and evidence-based discussion about how we transition to net zero. The future gas strategy has done extensive analysis. We've had analysis undertaken by organisations such as Net Zero Australia. Globally, we've seen the IEA, the IPCC. All of the scenario analysis points to an important role for gas going forward. There are parameters in terms of what that might look like under different scenarios, but we know that we need to be investing in new gas supply to support demand from Australian households, Australian manufacturing, consistent with our net zero targets. And frankly, turning the gas taps off would do untold damage to our economy. It means our manufacturing shuts down. It means our future made in Australia ambitions are not going to be realised. And it means higher prices for households. We need to be investing in the gas today.
The Energy Minister has conceded, in fact, that you get to 80% renewables, a large part of the rest of that energy mix is gas. So he's been saying that. Do the states need to shift their view on this?
Well, this is where we need to see some of the policies really recognising that important role for gas in the mix. And you're right, gas can be switched on quickly. It's an ideal backup for renewables. And that's why AEMO and others are pointing to that need for actually around 13 gigawatts investment in new gas capacity just in the NEM on the East Coast. But what we don't have currently is the policy settings there to support that investment. It's excluded from the capacity investment scheme. We need to ensure that our policies are starting to align with what we know will be needed to support a smooth and successful transition to net zero.
Samantha McCulloch, Chief Executive of the Australian Energy Producers. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thanks, Kieran.